ऑडिओ असं म्हटलेलं आहे. हा इथं म्यूट करून टाकतो ना.
यांचं चालू आहे खेत्रे सरांचं लेक्चर. खेत्रे सरांचं चालू आहे. खेत्रे सरांचं करोड्या बिरोड्या तळवण्या सूर्य शेती दिवस काढतो नाही.
Good morning.
हॅलो, चिखलगार सर. चिखलगार सर.
त्यांचा आवाज येतो का नाही? थांबा.
हॅलो
हॅलो, चिखलगार सर.
हा सर, बोला सर.
हा, ते ज्यांचे माइक्स अनम्यूट आहेत ते म्यूट करून घ्या. काही जणांच्या घरचे काही गोष्टी आपल्याला नको ते ऐकायला मिळत आहे.
हॅलो.
हो 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 हो.
हे हे दडसर स्पीच द्यायला लागले तर काय तर. आवाजला तिथं आपण कॉल चालू आहे त्यामुळे वाटतं येत नाही पण.
हा नवनाथ पडळकर आपला आवाज येतोय.
हॅलो.
हा आपला आवाज येतोय. आपला माईक
आवाजाचा साईडला स्टार्ट व्हिडिओच्या शेजारी आवाजाचा साईडला होतं का ते?
हा तुमचं हा ते हा येस झालं आता तुमचा अनम्यूट झालं सॉरी म्यूट झालंय. तसंच राहू द्या. ऐकत राहा फक्त. ओके थँक्यू सर. शिकलकर सर.
हा सर.
हा ज्यांचे माईक अनम्यूट आहे तेवढे म्यूट करून घ्या.
हो सर हो सर ओके ओके.
गुड मॉर्निंग टू ऑल. सर गुड मॉर्निंग.
Subha sir, good morning.
Good morning boss.
म्युझिकचा आवाज कोणाच्या तरी घरातून येतोय छानपैकी.
क्लिक केलं.
म्हणूनच सिकलकर सरांना म्हटलं की ते सगळ्यांना म्यूट करून घ्या.
खेत्रे सर तुम्ही सुद्धा कोण तुम्ही करा सर. कोण कोण दिसतंय ते बघा जरा.
हा हा दिसतंय इथं 27 लोक झालेले इथं.
हो हो
बघतो इथं बघतो.
सर गुड मॉर्निंग.
आवाज जातोय. अरे
सर इथं व्हिडिओ माझा स्टार्ट झाला. फोन करतो सरांना. गुड मॉर्निंग खेत्रे सर.
गुड मॉर्निंग सर.
शिकलकर सर हेच कसं चालू आहे ना झालं आवाज येतो वेलकम टू डॉक्टर नरेंद्र देशमुख सर. सर गुड मॉर्निंग.
गुड मॉर्निंग. गायकवाड सर, आपले तिन्ही रिसोर्स पर्सन जॉईन झाले का बघा जरा. जे 5 मिनिटांना आपण सुरू करूया. प्रधान सर जॉईन झालेत.
Good morning.
प्रधान सर जॉईन झाले. वेलकम प्रधान सर.
Thank you. Happy to join.
थँक्यू
कसे आहात सगळे?
हा ठीक आहे सर. देशमुख सर.
गुड मॉर्निंग सर.
हा गुड मॉर्निंग सर. प्रधान सर जॉईन झाले.
गुड मॉर्निंग सर.
हा गुड मॉर्निंग देशमुख साहेब.
सर
हा गुड मॉर्निंग देशमुख साहेब.
हा गुड मॉर्निंग. आवाज येतो का माझा?
हा येतोय सर येतोय. गुड मॉर्निंग देशमुख साहेब.
हा गुड मॉर्निंग. गुड मॉर्निंग.
संध्या मॅडम गुड मॉर्निंग.
संध्या मॅडम पण जॉईन होत आहेत.
गुड मॉर्निंग. झाले जॉईन मॅडम. देशमुख साहेब.
केत्रे सर.
हा गुड मॉर्निंग.
केत्रे सर. आरोपी त्यांना अनम्यूट करा. त्यांच्या घरात मारुती कोणतरी आहे बघा. तुम्हाला स्क्रीनवर दिसतंय का बघा.
मॅडम गुड मॉर्निंग.
प्रॉब्लेम आहे. एक विचारायचं होतं. स्क्रीन शेअर तुम्ही तिकडनं ऑपरेट करणार आहे काय? प्रेझेंटेशन आम्ही पाठवलेत तुम्हाला.
नाही सर, तिकडून जर शेअर झाली ना स्क्रीन तर काय अडचण येणार नाही.
त्यासाठी तुम्हाला मग आम्हाला ऑथॉरिटी द्यावं लागणार आहे.
हो होस्ट म्हणून तुम्हाला देतो सर आम्ही.
हा होस्ट म्हणून द्यावं लागणार आहे.
हो हो हो.
मी प्रेझेंटेशन चालू व्हायच्या आधी एकदा पटकन ट्राय करू का शेअर स्क्रीन?
करा ना करा.
तुम्हाला एनेबल करावं लागेल. होस्ट हॅज डिसेबल्ड स्क्रीन शेअरिंग येत आहे.
ऑलरेडी त्यांना स्क्रीन शेअर करून ठेवा म्हणजे अडचण येणार नाही.
हो होस्ट म्हणून तुम्हाला देतो सर.
देशमुख सर गुड मॉर्निंग.
गुड मॉर्निंग जाधव सर.
गुड मॉर्निंग.
मॉर्निंग.
चालू आहे याच्यात एकदा पटकन ट्राय करू.
आपल्याला ऑपरेट करण्यासाठी हे करायला लागेल.
साहेब गुड मॉर्निंग.
गुड मॉर्निंग. गुड मॉर्निंग. अरेंजमेंट छान केली काय गॉड सर, चिखलकर सर?
छान झाले सगळे.
हो हो. आता आता काय करा, किती पार्टिसिपंट जॉईन झालेत बघा आणि सुरू करूया आपण.
हो सर, 77 पार्टिसिपंट जॉईन झालेत.
हा 9 o'clock झालेत आपल्याला. 9 o'clock झालेत.
9 o'clock
हो करूया सुरू. स्क्रीन शेअर होते का पहा आणि सुरू करूया.
मला को-होस्ट बनवू शकाल का तुम्ही? म्हणजे मी माझं स्क्रीन
हो
शेअर
सर,
करू
हो,
शकेन.
हो.
थँक्यू.
चिखलकर सर.
हा सर.
प्रधान सरांना को होस्ट करा की. प्रधान सरांना को होस्ट करा की.
हॅलो.
हा सर, चिखलकर सर आवाज येतोय का?
काय करा तिघांनाही को होस्ट करा.
हो करतो सर, करतो. येतोय सर, करतोय. को-होस्ट बनवतो त्यांना मी.
नाहीतर तुम्हाला तिथून आमच्या स्लाइड हे
हा सर, तुम्हाला प्रधान सर तुम्हाला को-होस्ट बनवलेला आहे.
प्रधान सरांना होस्ट करा की. प्रधान सरांना को होस्ट करा की.
ओके.
केलं त्याने केलं.
हा सर, चिखलकर सर आवाज येतोय का?
म्हणायचं का?
येतोय सर, करतोय. को-होस्ट बनवतो त्यांना मी.
नाहीतर तुम्हाला तिथून
तुम्हाला प्रधान सर तुम्हाला को-होस्ट बनवलेला आहे.
ओके. थँक्यू.
गायकवाड सर.
खेरे सर, मला होस्ट केलंय ना?
हो मॅडम, केलंय. आहात तुम्ही.
ओके.
दडस सर.
हा. माझ्या माहितीप्रमाणे आपल्याला सुरू करायला हरकत नाही.
देशमुख सर सुरू करूया.
येस यू शुड स्टार्ट दिस.
ओके.
सुरू करूया.
डॉक्टर देशमुख इज रेडी.
Welcome. Internal Quality Assurance Cell, Dahewadi College, Dahewadi organizes webinar on education. COVID-19 opportunities and challenges. That was the topic we have chosen, and for that purpose we have renowned guests with us. As you know very well, though Dahewadi College, Dahewadi is situated in drought-prone area, the college is always trying its level best to have one step ahead and challenges. And during COVID-19, we were working as a work from home. We organized a dozen of activities. You know very well. Zoom app situated, and as a result, college is always recently our college has bagged 6 prizes out of 15. That is great achievement of our college. And one more thing to mention is that our principal, Dr. B.T. Jadhav, has been appointed as member managing council of Rayat Shikshan Sanstha, which is the biggest educational institution management in Asian continent. So, though there are some conditions, we are always trying our best to go ahead with those things. And when we consider SOC analysis, we have some strengths as well as some weaknesses. But today we have to think about what are the opportunities and challenges after COVID-19. And you know very well, nowadays, the term COVID-19 is with us 24 hours. And what should we do? It is very necessary for us to think over those ideas, and for that purpose, under the able guidance of Principal Dr. B.T. Jadhav, we have conducted this webinar for all stakeholders of the college. And what would be the condition in educational institutions after COVID-19? So here, as a coordinator of IQAC, I welcome one and all in this program. And as a part of formality, I ask our dynamic personality, principal of the college, Dr. B.T. Jadhav, to welcome our guests on this auspicious occasion. Sir, please.
Thank you, Dada sir, for organizing this very good activity during the lockdown period. On behalf of the Dahiwadi College, I welcome all the participants, resource person, and today's chief guest of this webinar, Honorable Dr. Narendra Deshmukh. He is senior scientist from the Homi Bhabha Center for Science Education, Mumbai. One more resource person is Dr. Ninad Pradhan from University of Tennessee, USA. Very well personality, Dr. Sandhya Thakur. She is retired lecturer from Somia College, Mumbai, but she is very in touch with the Homi Bhabha Center for Science Education. All the participants, researchers, students, and the various faculties from the different colleges of Maharashtra as well as from the other state of the Maharashtra. Friends, during this lockdown period, just my colleague has mentioned that we have organized various activities, and the various activities are related to the subject research activities, some project activities, some NAC activities, as well as the activities related to the ISO 9000 and etc. But during this lockdown period, everyone is worried about the education, everyone is worried about this industry, agriculture sector, because that COVID-19 will affect to the various sectors. And what will be the future, or what is the future of the education sector? What is the future of the agriculture sector? What will be about the industry? Will they run smoothly, or maybe there are some problems? And everyone is thinking, everyone is talking, everyone is listening various news from the international level, national level, local level, and everyone is worried. But being as a literate person, being as a researcher, being as a teacher, being as a student, we have to think on a specific way. We have to think positively. And can we think that this is a very good opportunity for the education sector, because we have to find out the various ways. We have to think differently and find out some solutions. What will be the criteria? What will be the aspect of the education system after COVID-19? And during the discussion on this topic, Honorable Dr. Narendra Deshmukh have suggested, and he gives a very good opportunity to the Dahiwadi College by suggesting some big personalities like the Pradhan Sir, Sandhya Madam, and Dr. Narendra Deshmukh have given a very good very good opportunity to all of us, because all these personalities are very actively participating in the various research activities as well as the planning of the educational sector. Dr. Pradhan Sir, Dr. Sandhya Madam, these are always working on different aspects, and Dr. Narendra Deshmukh have suggested this personality. So on behalf of the Dahiwadi College, I welcome Dr. Narendra Deshmukh sir, Dr. Pradhan sir, Dr. Sandhya Madam, and all the participants. I said few lines about Dr. Narendra Deshmukh. Being as a senior scientist, he's my very good friend and very active member of the HBCSE, Homi Bhabha Center for Science Education in Mumbai. He conducts various activities in the national level and international level. And being as a rare family member, he have given a very good suggestion and such big personality to us. That's why I am initially thankful to Dr. Narendra Deshmukh, and once again welcome all the participant researchers, students and friends. Thank you. Dr. Gaikwad sir. Dr. Gaikwad.
Thank you, sir. Now, as part of webinar, we have chief guest for inaugural function. I may say keynote addresser, and as webinar opens, now we have the chief guest, Dr. Narendra Deshmukh, Homi Bhabha Center for Science Education, Mumbai, and as a formality, I ask Dr. V.P. Gaikwad, coordinator of this event, to introduce the chief guest. Gaikwad sir, please.
Okay, sir. Good morning and welcome all participants, resource person, and our respected principal, Dr. Jadhav sir. I'm here to introduce our webinar chief guest and keynote address presented by Dr. Narendra Deshmukh sir. Since 1991, Dr. Narendra Deshmukh is working at Homi Bhabha Center for Science Education, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, Mumbai, India. As senior scientific officer, he has MSc in animal physiology. There is well-known person in other education, in his master education in MA and MPhil, and also PhD in completed in education subjects, and MBA. Also, he pursued the MBA degree. He completed his postdoctoral study from Marang Center for Maths and Science Education with School of Education, Johannesburg, South Africa. Then his research area are students, conceptions and misconceptions, open educational resources, activity-based science learning, participatory action research, topic specific, pedagogical content, knowledge and interested in tribal and rural education, health education, biology education, and teacher education. He shared his research experience in many national and international conferences and published in journals. He is author of 6 books, participated in 4 books, 6 courses development, 3 technical reports. He is associated with many national and international educational biology education research associations. खरं तर सरांचं जे काम आहे ते एक सायंटिस्ट म्हणून तर खूप प्रचंड मोठं आहे. त्याचबरोबर त्यांनी स्वतः एज्युकेशन शिक्षणशास्त्र या विषयामधून रिसर्च, त्यानंतर बुक्स आणि इतर सामाजिक क्षेत्रामध्ये सुद्धा खूप मोलाचं योगदान दिलेलं आहे. असे एक वेल नोन आणि तज्ज्ञ अशा प्रकारचे चीफ गेस्ट आणि कीनोट ॲड्रेसर डॉक्टर नरेंद्र देशमुख साहेब आपल्याला लाभले. त्याबद्दल पुन्हा एकदा रयत शिक्षण संस्था तसंच दहिवडी कॉलेज दहिवडी आणि IQSC याच्यामार्फत मी पुन्हा एकदा सरांचं मनपूर्वक असं सहर्ष स्वागत करतो. वेलकम सर.
धन्यवाद गायकवाड सर. Now we proceed further with keynote address, and for that purpose I would like to ask Dr. Narendra Deshmukh from Homi Bhabha Center for Science Education, Mumbai, to deliver his lecture. Sir, please.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. I can't share my screen because it's showing install Chrome extension and click share again after installation. I think it will be better if you can do from your side. Already we sent our PPT to you, so please, if possible, just share from your side.
Dr. Khetre sir, you should take the responsibility. Dr. Khetre.
And also the camera, I can't start my video camera. Okay.
Okay, just start it.
Okay. Once again, thank you for giving this opportunity. I congratulate Dahivadi College, Dahivadi, Principal Jadhav sir, and Gaikwad sir, and entire team of Dahivadi College, Dahivadi, and all the webinar participants. Basically, in this session, we have three speakers. One, myself, I will share my views about this COVID-19. Hello. Hello.
आनंद जाधव तुम्ही जरा म्यूट करा.
Hello.
आनंद जाधव. Please mute yourself.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You are audible. No problem.
Okay. स्क्रीन शेअर नाही होत आहे का? काही प्रॉब्लेम येते तुमच्याकडनं? माझ्याकडनं जमत नाहीये कारण की मला ते इन्स्टॉल करायला विचारते आणि ते इन्स्टॉल होत नाही माझ्याकडे.
खेत्रे सर करतायत, शेअर करतायत. खेत्रे सर, डॉक्टर खेत्रे सर.
ओके ओके, चालेल, मी सुरुवात करतो.
हा, सुरू करा. सुरू. खेत्रे सर, स्क्रीन करा, तुम्ही करा ऑपरेट ते पीपीटी.
हा, मी करतो का गायकवाड?
ठीक आहे, ठीक आहे, करा, चालेल.
Okay, basically in this presentation I will share the global pandemic impact, and that global pandemic impact is actually 4D impact that we will see what exactly it is, and then what are the innovation in education and how we can align our resources, whatever resources we have available with us now. And at the same time, we have to think or we have to learn more about the fourth industrial revolution, because to cope with or to overcome whatever the global impact or whatever the COVID impact we have now, to deal with that, we have to think about the fourth industrial revolution, and what experiment and actions now we are taking, At the same time, when we are using this technology, different technology, so apart from pedagogical content knowledge, we also have to understand the topic, sorry, technology, pedagogy content knowledge. And as you aware that World Health Organization identifies fourth emergencies. Over the past decade, the World Health Organization has declared four global health emergencies. Two of them were in the past 2 years: the Ebola epidemic in the West Africa and the Zika outbreak that spread throughout the America. And now, as of April UNESCO report, more than 188 countries suffered from affected, our learner affected. What is the 4D impact of the COVID-19? Actually, it disrupt, it disregard, it divide, and it depress. Disrupt means entire education, school education, college education, not only education, but entire sector of our human being get disrupt. And this also creating some sort of disregard, social distancing, and all sort of things. And now we observed during this lockdown how there was a divide between uh, digitals, those who have a good digital resources or infrastructures, and those who are lacking, they don't have such infrastructure. And at the same time, some sort of due to this fear and all sort of some sort of depressions, we are also feeling little bit. Now the question is that how we help our teacher, parent, and student to adapt to remote learning, and how we bridge the gap between student, teacher, and school, college, and what changes we need our education system to adjust, adapt, and overcome. So basically, we have to think some sort of innovative theory and practices for our teaching learning. And we all aware the example of this Thailand incident, which took place, I think, 2 years back. And during that time, teamwork, basically planning, good planning is required, patience, and then perseverance and desire to do. We solve the uh, issues. Now, similarly, we have to think in such a pandemic situation or some sort of disasters. During disasters, it need a powerful will, and so we can change the things. And in our sector, but basically, if we discuss in the context of our education, we have a lot of now we all, as Gado sir mentioned, that lot of programs, online programs, online workshop, meetings, and all sort of things continuously going on. And in many colleges, some support systems, we are interacting with students, we are interacting with teachers through, and parents also, through various social media, online teaching, or you can say remote learning is going on. Now, the if you see this COVID-19 is not only limited with our country or our state or our college. It affected entire world. And so this we have to think about the global pandemic impact. And we have some challenges, we have some opportunities. The challenges basically is how to ensure the our education, continue our education in this situation, and how to adjust our calendar, exam calendars. That is our priority. And then we in some countries, if you see this global issue, nutrition, getting nutrition meal is also a major concern. Not only our country, also our country. That's why we have a what you can say, on ration card, getting groceries and things, rice and some sort of things. So providing food is also important task, and it's also another challenge for us, and another burden for parents and caregivers. See, we have to think for online or by using any social media, parents need some sort of advanced version of mobile, data connection, good band internet connection is required. So that is another burden on parent, and this social isolation also create a lot of problem among the students. And this the issue of infrastructure planning, preparation and education is a challenge for all of us, not only you can say very good country or developed country, but developing country and underdeveloped countries also these issues are there. Only the intensity, you can say, uh, we in our country, those schools in rural areas or remote areas, they have more challenges than urban part of our country. We have a lot of opportunities also. Because of that, we are interacting continuously. A lot of online meetings are going on, and whatever materials we
तर
have,
टाकलं त्याने काय अजून बघितलं नाही ते
trying to
कालपर्यंत
deliver.
आठवडाभर रोज रेग्युलर येत होते दत्तान दोघ जण पण
And
दत्ता मला मग
also,
सकाळी फोन केला मी त्याला 7 वाजता
and also higher education institution thereby need to seize their opportunity, strengthen its evidence-based practices, whatever practices we are doing, which we have to share with our students. This that is also opportunities, and many universities has or many department, even in our country, yoga meditations for mental health. And also similarly, we have a challenge to consider our curriculum and other things. So basically, we need an innovation, and we have to think what will work, what will not work, and what to do about it for certain things. Whatever good practices we are doing, we have to scale up, because we have a million of students, teachers, and large portion of specific undeserved population. So we have to scale up our activities. We have to increase the things. At the same time, whatever resources we have, as a teacher, we have a lot of PowerPoint materials. We have a lot of notes, question banks. We have some sort of simulations, or we have collections of good YouTube's good video clips. So all these resources we have to align during our sessions. So alignment of resources is very important, and that task as a teacher or as a teacher educators or as a lecturer professor, we have to do that task. So alignment means we have our human resources, we have some learning resources, and we have a technology. So we have to align all these three things. And for online learning or for remote learning, we need a new skills, some sort of technology skill, some sort of communication skill, and some instrument. And we have to see what exactly the fourth industrial revolution has given us, and all these 21st century trainers required. Online teaching basically needs a good blend of technology and more insight about the education. So, and while using all these things, we have to interact with our resources. At the same time, we have to think global technology and resources. A lot of huge global resources are available, we have with us. So we have to use that resources during our online teaching learning process. Many open education resources we have, many open courses we have, many learning platforms, learning resources. A lot of now courses are going. Basically, this period, we have to think in a three ways. One is our self-professional development. For that, many Commonwealth of Learning, then UNESCO, our IGNO, our UGC, lot of courses are going on. Um, and that courses we have to join, we have to learn for our own professional development. Then second point is that we have to develop certain resources which is essential for our teaching learning, considering our own context, considering our learners, because we know much better that our learner background. So all these things we have to consider, and based on that we have to design, we have to develop resources, digital resources particularly in this context. And apart from this development, we now third important task as a lecturer, as a professor, we can do, that is we can interact with, we can network with all global expert, global resources. So and we can do some good research at the same times. So these three things we can do. These are the lot of indicators for effective teachings. I think we aware about it, and I mentioned all these resources in my references. Particularly, my focus of this today's session is that what is mean by industrial revolution. As we aware that the first industrial revolution was mechanization, steam engine, and we use water power for that steam, for the steam. Then second revolution is basically mass production and electricity. Third industrial revolution is electronic, IT system, and automations. And now the fourth revolution is a cyber physical system. And now world is also thinking about fifth industrial revolution. So basically, this industrial revolution, as we aware that it began in Britain in 18th century, and then a lot of what you can say revolutions, evolution we can see in this IR, from steam to cognifications we arrived. And during this industrial revolution, in the context of education, we have to understand what was our learning objective. During first industrial revolution, our object learning objective was master of basic skill knowledge. But in fourth industrial revolution, we tried to develop the whole personality across multiple intelligence, not only IQ, but multiple IQ we are thinking. And the role of educator or role of teacher or professor, lecturer, previously as an expert, now in fourth industrial revolution, we have to understand our changing role. That's we are a facilitator, we are a mentor, not you can say expert, but we are the facilitator, because our learner, our stakeholders have a equal exposure, or you can say more exposure than us. And they are very good in technology, they are very good in current scenario. So we have to play our role as a facilitator. And learner experience in the first industrial revolution was the factory model. Now it's in fourth, this is a custom model where learners are active, directed and explanatory. And our focus in fourth industrial evolution is lifelong learning. And at the same time, we have to understand that anyone can teach, not only teacher, lecturer, or professor, but anyone can teach. This is very important thing. And anytime, anywhere, by using any device, anyone can learn. This is the most important aspect. This fourth industrial revolution concept suggested by Professor Schwab in World Economic Forum, and he wrote a book. And according to him, that a range of new technologies that are fusing the physical, digital, and biological world, which impacting all disciplines, particularly in the context of economics and industry. And we also have to think how our education get affected because of this fourth IR. And this fourth IR, why I am saying, because it has a potential. And if you see our most of our teacher education or professor lecturer know this Maslow hierarchy of need, from physical needs to self actualization need, and how this from first industrial revolution to fourth industrial revolution, how the things will change. At the same time, because of this STEM is also another concept is coming: science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and STEAM, and one can also add art. And now, thanks to NAC, because of this NAC, our infrastructure get improved, and a lot of good infrastructure we can see in our colleges and our schools. At the same time, when we are thinking about technology, we are aware about pedagogical content knowledge. Pedagogical content knowledge is basically teachers need two sort of knowledge. One is a content knowledge, and at the same time, how to deliver or how to transfer that content knowledge to our learner, and that requires certain strategies, certain method. It's called pedagogy. So this pedagogy content knowledge, the term, what you can say, explained by Lee Schulman, and lot of areas of knowledge he suggested for a teacher. First, content knowledge is important. At the same time, general teaching knowledge, curriculum knowledge, pedagogical content knowledge, knowledge of learner, knowledge of educational context, and knowledge of history and philosophy of education. These things are required, but at this scenario, we have to think about, because we are doing online, or you can by using certain technology. So in that case, we need to know about technological pedagogic content knowledge. And Kohler and Mishra, a lot of thought suggested that how we whatever technology we are using, how it can interact with each other, and that things we have to learn as a teacher, as a professor, as a lecturer. So the amalgamai, what you can say, the mixing or the integration of technology with content is very important, and it makes our online learning more interactive, interesting. And for that, we have to think about fourth industrial revolution, robotics, and 4D printing, on all sort of animations, simulations we have to use. And as you know, that our journey started from the Stone Age, and now we reach to the uh, with the help of technology, we call it as a modern humans. These are the some resources, useful websites, you can see, you can go through. I don't have any problem. You can share this PPT to all our participants. I acknowledge, I thanks Principal BT Jadhav sir, uh, Gaikwad sir, and entire faculty of the UAT College who organized this event. And special thank to webinar participants. And we do have a faith and hope to get through this pandemic soon, but with the right decision and planning for the future of our school and teacher education and nation. And as Alvin Toffler said, that the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So my message for this session is that we have to come together, we have to stay together, we have to work together for our betterment. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so I hope that our participant will try to understand more about fourth industrial revolution, which is very important. We have to read about it, and just if you Google a lot of resources, we will get. My message is that try to use more open educational resources. If possible, you can develop material, your own material, because considering our learner context, we have to think that also. And another aspect in my uh, talk is that we have to integrate technology with content, so that make a impact on our teaching learning process, and it will be the interactive session. And I am sure my colleague Sandhya ma'am, Dr. Sandhya ma'am will also discuss more about this pandemic situation and education. And we are expecting that Dr. Ninad will share his experiences, how US is dealing with this pandemic situation. Uh, Actually, in many countries, a lot of other technologies are also using apart from this internet, or you can say online learning. TV is using in many countries, and even if you remember that yesterday there was a post on one group, on WhatsApp group, that some in one village that teacher is using loudspeaker, because it's a remote village and they don't have any facility. So he is using a loudspeaker to motivate the student. Our current problem is that how we can invite our student, how we can motivate our student in this situation. So that is also a challenge, and a lot of challenges we have. At the same time, we Indian are very good in jugaad, and we have to do the jugaad, all sort of things, whatever strategy, considering the rural, considering the area, or you can say the situation, available infrastructure, we all are using that things, and we are trying to cope with all this, or we are trying to overcome the situation. And salute to all teachers, because of you, these things are happening. These good things are happening. Our education is continuing. We are interacting with each other, and I know that many of our lecturer, teacher, and admin staff is engaged in learning many new things, many new skills. That is also a good sign, and I'm sure we all will continue, and we all overcome on these issues. Thank you once again. Thank you, sir. Dolos sir. Dadas sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Zada sir.
Thank you.
And
Thank
thank
you
you,
very much,
Gaikwad
sir. You made.
I'm wishing best to the UAD college, and I hope this session or this one day international webinar will give some insight. Thank you once again.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
दडस सर एक मिनिट. दडस सर,
हा बोला.
याच्यानंतर आपल्या शेड्यूल मध्ये डॉक्टर संध्या मॅडम त्यांचं प्रेझेंटेशन अगोदर करणार आहेत.
हो सर, झालं की मी इंट्रोडक्शन करतो ना त्यासाठी. अजून आपल्याला इंट्रोड्यूस करायचं गेस्ट ना.
ओके, गो अहेड.
Thank you, sir. You made such kind of observations, and which are, I think, eye-opening for teacher fraternity. And I hope that you optimistically pointed out the availability of sources, and even you have given credit to NAC. Because of NAC, we tried our level best to develop infrastructural facilities, and which are very much useful in this pandemic situation. Thank you very much, sir. Now we proceed further for next session, and we have two resource persons for our next session. I would like to request Dr. S.M. Khetre to introduce The next resource person, that is Dr. Sandhya Thakur, here in our webinar. Dr. Khetre sir, please.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, all of you. It's my great pleasure to introduce Honorable Dr. Sandhya Thakur, Madam, as well as another resource person, Dr. Ninath Pradhan, sir. Instead of wasting a lot of time to introduce both the dignitaries, in one vocal, I will introduce both the dignitaries of today's international webinar. First of all, I welcome Honorable Dr. Sandhya Ajit Thakur, Madam, who is a PhD holder, and she is visiting scholar at Homi Bhabha Center for Science Education in the field of biology. She has also been biology professor at S.K. Somaya Junior College near about 38 years. She has mentor and sponsored students from low socio-economic status families to help overcome barriers and complete basic formal education of that students. Her current work at the Homi Bhabha Center for Science Education focuses on developing economical and accessible toolkit to make science concept learning interesting and easy. She has published her work in both national and international journal of repute, as well as national and international conferences, and conducted workshop to train the trainer on developing teaching methodology. So she has a lot of experience of teaching to teach the students at various level. On behalf of Devadi College, Devadi, I welcome her on this auspicious occasion. Now I introduce the second dignitaries, second resource person of the today's webinar, international webinar, Honorable Dr. Ninath Pradhan. First of all, I will say that I do not understood the biodata of Ninath Pradhan, sir, because if I go on reading the biodata, you can also hard to understand the biodata of her. It is very hard because this field is actually different than the people we are teaching field. The Honorable Dr. Ninath Pradhan is a postdoctoral research associate in the Department of Industrial and System Engineering at the University of Tennessee, and research liaison for the Center and Advanced System Research and Education, shortly called as CASRE. His graduate research encompassed robotic and computer vision application for service robotic and unmanned aerial vehicles. His research at CASRE focused on the design of optimization, computer vision, and machine learning algorithm for manufacturing and supply chain environment. As the research liaison for CASRE, he worked extensively on formalization and publication of applied research within the center, facilitation of research partnership towards planning and implementing research grant, and working with graduate students towards their thesis and dissertation. His education research interests include the development of STEM training inspired by engineering paradigm such as system thinking and critical problem solving. Such a great person with us for this international webinar for delivering the lecture. On behalf of Devadi College, Devadi, and organizing committee of this international webinar, I again welcome both the dignitaries, and I request to Honorable Dr. Sandhya Madam, please deliver your talk. Thank you.
खेत्रे सर, संध्या मॅडमचं शेअर करा पीपीटी.
Yes, 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 yes.
त्यांना अनम्यूट पण करा, त्या म्यूट झाले होते. ती नव्हे खेत्रे सर, ती पीपीटी त्यांची नाही,
दुसरी माझ्याकडे आहे.
दिली सर.
मग अशी पीपीटी होती ती माझी आहे.
येस येस येस.
क्लोज करा.
ठीक आहे.
करतो. मॅडम आहे का?
ही नव्हे, ही पण नव्हे, ही नाही, ही नाही.
नाही, मला दिसतंय त्यांना दिसतंय.
पहिली पीपीटी पाठवली बघा.
नाही सर, याच्यामध्ये तुम्ही
केत्रे सर तुम्हाला मी पाठवलेली आहे. केत्रे सर तुम्हाला पाठवलेली आहे आता.
एक मिनिट.
10 pages.
येस लगेच सापडते. Just a minute, sir. It is open.
Okay.
तरी सर तुमच्या मेलला पाठवतो.
येस एकच मिनिट ओपन करतोय सर.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome, madam.
Yes, same.
Yeah. I need to tell you to change the slide, or
Yes, I will do. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, madam.
Yeah. So, thank you, Dahiwadi College, Principal Dr. Jadhav, Dr. Gaikwad, Dr. Dadas. Thank you very much for giving me opportunity to come with you, because this Rayat Shikshan Sanstha, all of us, we are familiar with in Maharashtra, and it is such a large institution. And I feel very fortunate to be part of webinar which is conducted by this Rayat Shikshan Sanstha, and I hope to continue this cooperation with you in future too. Now let us come back to our topic. So this is very relevant topic for today: education after COVID-19, opportunities and challenges. Now, how is the school education after Corona? As we started getting first reports of COVID-19 from Wuhan, I think at the end of 2019, it was a far distant news for us. We remember the pictures and the videos of quarantined people over there in Wuhan. And one thing was sure, when we saw these videos on the WhatsApp and other places, it was very scary. Soon, within a month or so, it came close to us. It came to afterwards we saw the news in the Europe and we got scared again. And then it came to our country, and on 22nd March, country experienced the first lockdown. Now, it is either entered in our neighboring house or even our homes. Now, my close relatives also are admitted to the hospital for this Corona. In the beginning, people were very much frightened and confused at the same time. Social media, news channels have added to make the condition more worse. Being teacher, we need to redefine our position in this never before situation. Doctors, nurses, police, pharmacists, etc., they are the first level barriers, and they have no option. They got pulled into the war against Corona, and they are doing their best. My dear teachers, pause a little, and you will understand that we are the warriors of the second level after doctors, nurses, and all. It is teachers who have to do their best not to deprive any young citizen from education. If the students of today stops education for obvious reasons, chances are there that they will discontinue education and will be nuisance to the family and society in future. Future generations will consider teachers responsible for it, and therefore it is an urgent call to restart education, which took pause for a while due to this pandemic. Next slide, please. I request other participants to mute their then please. Now, how is that impact of coronavirus pandemic has changed how millions around the world or around the globe are educated? Schools are shut down indefinitely. There is a lot of uncertainty, and the education sector is passing through tough times. If immediate solution is not found, then it will cause far-reaching consequences. This is really crucial time for education sector. Next slide. Coronavirus has changed how students are studying. New solutions of delivering educational content could bring much needed innovation. Schools need to adapt. Most private schools have adopted online teaching methods. Low-income private, government, and tribal schools may not have the resources to adopt online teaching methods. As a result, these schools could be shut down indefinitely till the pandemic goes away. Now, not a single scientist in the world has told when this pandemic will end. Thus, this virus is here to stay. Hence, we need to learn new ways of teaching amid COVID-19. So let us think of innovative ways to introduce new normals in education system. Learning anytime, anywhere is the concept of digital education. Pandemic has given us a great online experiment. Let us give the concept of learning anytime, anywhere a paradigm shift. Let us look at education with new perspective. Only 50% of the rural households have internet access in India. Penetration of DTH TV is also low relative to the size of India's population. India has only 69.3 million DTH subscribers. Only 24% Indians own the smartphone, and only 11% households possess any type of computer. Children from rich or middle class have access to internet and hence learn from online courses designed by so-called experts. They are also monitored by their parents. This is not the case for rural children or children in lower income group. If a solution for educating these children is not found, they will be thrown out of the education system. Now, what is our role in this? Teachers have important role to play. Let us consider COVID-19 a golden opportunity to come up with creative ways of imparting education to the children from rural and lower income families. These kids have great potential to be self-made and self-learners. Instead of using traditional techniques of delivering lectures, it is important to keep the children engaged in innovative ways. Now, we are all locked up inside the houses. And if we see, we may feel that education can come to stop if the children remain at home, and if they do not have Wi-Fi access, as we have seen earlier slides, that if they do not afford all these internet connections, then what are the other ways? That is how in Homi Bhabha Science Center, when we discussed, we came with different project ideas. We have to give some certain projects to this is mainly in keeping school children in view, but when we'll come to the end of this project ideas, you will understand that this is relevant even for the higher education, even for the degree education. There are certain projects they need to experiment. Now, we told the students to observe and categorize the shape of the things at home: square, triangle, circle, rectangle. They can see anything. They can see the table or TV or a cupboard, anything. And they have to categorize what are the things which are there triangular, which are circular, which are rectangular. So that is how, that is one of the project. Then understand the concept of measurement. Measure the length, width, height of various things at home. It may be a small matchbox, it may be their lunchbox, it may be their book or notebook, or it may be the room. Their parents also, they are living in that house for so many years, and they will understand that they have never measured their house and they don't know the exact measurements of their house. So these are the projects not only for the students, these are all for the family together. So these are projects so that the family learns together, it has fun together, and learning can be fun. They have to list down the things which are bought at home. They have to keep the monthly account of the expenditure so that they learn from where the money comes home, and children learn how it is spent, and they will understand the value of the money and as well as things which are there at the home. Categorize things at home as per frequency of use. So I usually tell the students to list down the things which are there at home. In every room, they have to write down the things right from needle to the cupboard or television, whatever things are there, and how frequency of use, whether they use it daily or weekly, monthly, annually, and they understand. Sometimes students come with the things that they have at home and they are not used at all. They're just kept at home so that someday they can use them. So whatever things are there at home, they start looking at them differently. Also, they ask them to categorize the things as per the purpose. What are the things which are kept in the kitchen? What are the things which are kept in the bedroom or bathroom, etc. We tell them to observe their mother making chapatis or bhakris. Some chapatis will be better than the others, and discuss with your mother why it is so. Also maintain a diary of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And let them discuss with the parents what breakfast, lunch, or dinner they had when they were young. Or if they have grandparents at home, they should discuss with the grandparents what food they used to eat and how many times they used to eat when they were young. They need to observe their parents, how they prepare the meals and what are the ingredients used. And also note down the time which is prepared. Now, these are all things children from rich families spend when they take admissions in the catering college or hotel management, and they spend a lot of money for that. So this is how you can learn at home too, which has got more value than what you learn after spending so much money. Note down how many times do you sweep the house and what trash it contains. Observe how much time does each person in the house watches television. Which programs do you watch and why do you watch? Why do you like them? So keep a record of it. Next. This is very important. Maintain water drinking log for each family. Every family we have at home, some bottles, at least Bisleri bottle is there, in which can measure 1 liter. So for each person in the family with a name written, there should be different bottles should be filled in the morning, and up to the night they should keep the record. Students should keep the record of each family member, how much water they drink. Also measure the length of fingers and toes of each family member and keep a record of it. So these are all very simple, and these are only few ideas. We have number of them, and when you give such ideas to the students, they will come up with hundreds more. And that is, you have to remember, dear teachers, that this is what is their research will originate. They'll become in future, you can just they can become scientists, or they can go into the research. Thank you very much.
Khitre sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Really, you pointed out it is a crucial time to identify the need, that is a need to define our position as a teacher, and what are the things to be adopted and taken into consideration in this crucial situation. Thank you very much. Now we proceed further to Dr. Ninad Pradhan, and I would like to request him to begin with his presentation. Khitre sir, please share the PPT of Dr. Ninad Pradhan.
Yes, I do, sir.
Good morning, all. Before I begin the presentation, I want to take this opportunity to thank the organizers, the principal, all the dignitaries at the Daiwadi College for organizing this event and for giving me an opportunity to present over here. I do consider it a privilege to speak to an audience of teachers, educators, students, researchers, and the way I see my role over here is that I live and work in a different part of the world, and this is an opportunity for me to share some of my experiences. Some of them are firsthand, some of them are things that I've seen around me, and to then open up the this webinar for discussions and for Q&A. So my effort will be to keep my part of the presentation concise so that we have enough time left over for discussion. So if we could please move on to the next slide. Broadly, the outline of my presentation it consists of four parts. The first is that I would like to talk about the disruption itself, the disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Then I would like to narrate a couple of examples of the response that I've seen here in the state of Tennessee in USA. Then we can identify some questions which form the opportunity. What are the opportunities for us as educators or as people working in universities and in colleges, and then finally we'll get to the part where we will discuss and get your thoughts and your feedback, and hopefully get to hear some of your experiences as well. So if we could please go to the third or the fourth slide, please.
Slide का चालू करना है.
डॉक्टर खेत्रे
Third
स्लाइड शो
slide.
करा, स्लाइड शो करा आणि थर्ड स्लाइडला या. स्लाइड शो करा ना. खेत्रे सर
हा केलेलं आहे साहेब स्लाइड शो.
नाही ना दिसत तसं. आणि 4th स्लाइडला पाहिजे आता ते.
हा 4th स्लाइडला जा प्लीज.
इथून मला दिसतंय सर.
तुम्ही फर्स्टलाच आहात.
पुढची स्लाइड करा ना, स्लाइड पुढे सरकवा ना.
या स्क्रीनवरच तुम्ही स्लाइड पुढे सरकवल्या तरी चालेल. स्लाइड शो असायची गरज नाही म्हणजे नेसेसरी. तुम्ही 4th स्लाइड वरती याच स्क्रीन वरती नेलं तरी चालेल, काहीच प्रॉब्लेम नाही.
डॉक्टर खेत्रे सर तुम्हाला दिसतंय ते, पण तुम्ही शेअर केलं नाही त्यामुळे इतरांना दिसेना ते. स्लाइड शो करा.
स्टेअरिंग सुद्धा आहे. आता मी स्टॉप शेअरिंग करतो.
हा आता बघा.
परत शेअर करतो सर.
हा येस येस.
खेत्रे सर स्लाइड शेअर केल्या तुम्ही, फक्त स्लाइड पुढची स्लाइड घ्या. एक झाल्यानंतर एक झाल्यानंतर एक झाल्यानंतर एक असं करा. पुढे चाला ना.
त्यांच्या स्क्रीनवरती दिसतंय ते आपल्याला दिसेल. येस येस.
हा आता दिसतंय. 4th स्लाइड वरती जा.
येतो सर.
हा थँक्यू. So this and the next slide provide us with a very striking image of how this pandemic has actually spread and how it has affected the school and college systems. This is an image from UNESCO, and what it shows is that as recently as 16th February, there were school closures in just one country, which was China, and at that time only 0.1% of all of the learners worldwide were affected by this pandemic. And these are, by learners, we mean everyone from KG level to PhD students around the world. However, if you go to the next slide, you will see that in only a few months, this is data from 27 June. The number of learners who were affected has gone from about 10 lakhs to about 106 crores or 1.06 billion affected learners. This is 61% of all the learners across the world, and 111 countries have closed their schools. So this sometimes leads us to ask, because if we live in, you live in India, I live in the US, and if we just look around us, it leads us to question the rationale behind doing this. But if we go to the next slide, it's important to recognize that these school closures are not being done out of a state of panic, but they are based on solid experiences of the world from recent pandemics in the last 100 years or so. So if we go to the 6th slide, we see that in the 1918 or 1919 flu pandemic in the US, school closures were shown to lower mortality rates. The 1957-58 Asian flu pandemic taught us, by way of the data that was generated, that the rate of people getting infected, or the morbidity rate, reduced by as much as 90% because of the action of closing schools on time. And in the 2009 swine flu, which was also known as the H1N1 flu, in Japan and the UK, it was found that the number of infected students, and by association, the number of infected people, their parents or their families, that decreased during the peak of the outbreak. And what is most relevant today is that right now our scientists are still looking for solutions for vaccines which can treat this particular virus. And school closings actually buy us more time to develop vaccines. So this brings us to the next point, which Dr. Thakur also raised. And right now we are on slide number 7, please. So I'll just continue. On that slide, there is a graph from the World Bank, and according to the World Bank study, what they have shown is that the access
घेतली सर नाही ना 4th वरती आहात तुम्ही, 5th ला जायचंय, 6th ला जायचंय आपल्याला. ग्राफ आहे तिथं.
इथं दिसते साहेब मला स्लाइड जिथं होतीये कनेक्टिव्ह थोडस मागे पुढे होत असं.
आता आणखीन पुढची पाहिजे.
अच्छा, 7th slide, sir.
7th slide, 7th one.
इथं पुढची स्लाइड हीच दिसते सर.
मला असं वाटतं की आपण जर प्रेझेंटेशन मोड मध्ये टाकलं ना तर ते बरं होईल. स्लाइड शो जर केला ना तर दिसेल व्यवस्थित.
हा सिक्वेन्स माझ्याकडे दिसतोय तोच आहे सर.
हा, आता 7th slide वर मी आहे sir. So on the 7th, on this slide, and this is okay, this is fine. So let's stay on this slide. So as we have seen that the access to remote learning, which is what, sorry. Okay, so as we have seen that the solution that a lot of educators have proposed is that there should be better access to remote learning, which is where students can stay at home and still learn about whatever they are missing out in the classroom experience. But as Dr. Thakur pointed out, we have to be very mindful of the fact that the access to these type of technologies, and as Dr. Deshmukh also alluded to in his talk about the effect of or the impact of Industry 4.0, that the access to services such as the internet, or even in some cases services such as the radio or TV, is very highly restricted by region. So the next part of this presentation, which is the response on slide 9 and further, is going to focus on experiences at a very specific place, which is Knoxville, Tennessee, where I live. And therefore, we have to take it into context the fact that what is applicable to a place like Knoxville is probably not applicable to a city like Mumbai or Delhi or any other place in our country, and therefore the methods that apply to one place need to be carefully modified to apply to any other place. So this is an example of how the University of Tennessee handled the outbreak and its consequences. If you go to the next slide, please. The immediate response, what I observed as an employee of the university, was that there was a very good level of communication between the decision makers in the university and us, who are the employees of the university. So we have received and continue to receive weekly briefings under the title of campus updates, where we are told about what are the latest developments, what are the projected start dates for classes, and so on. There is a very clearly defined chain of command because as staff, I was told exactly who I was to report to if I have to, for example, visit campus to conduct some research or to complete some experiment. And similarly, my boss and their boss and so on had a very clear person to report to, which did not, which restricted the way in which people were accessing campus, and therefore it automatically created a social distancing mechanism. Finally, the level of planning was immediately instituted. So as soon as there was an outbreak, the chancellor of the university instituted a task force comprising of leaders in the university to plan for everyone to eventually return to campus. And finally, and this is, I think, one point where a major university like University of Tennessee would have more access to monetary resources and manpower, basically, to be able to allocate funds which can immediately improve their employee and student access to internet and distance learning infrastructure. So this is where the difference that I mentioned between one place and another comes into play. From the policy perspective, 5 major policy decisions were immediately taken. So the first case, not even the first mortality, the first case of COVID-19 in Tennessee was reported on March 5th. And on March 11th, all classes were immediately moved online. All campus dormitories were closed. All university, sorry. All university events were cancelled, and if possible, they were moved online. So, for example, I was teaching a class at that time, and 11th March was the last day that I actually taught the class, and then the next class that I taught had to be done via Zoom. And also the final 2 points were that there were travel restrictions. No one was allowed to make any official trips within or outside the US. And all research that had to be done had to go through a series of very strict approvals before anyone could come to campus to do the research. We could do our work from home as much as possible. Next slide, please. So here's something that I want to point out, which I feel is universal, is that communication is the key to being able to control these type of pandemics. So as you can see over here, there are 3 screenshots from the same page, and to whoever gets access to this presentation, I've added links at the bottom of every slide. So these are the pages you can visit and see for yourself. That the university has created a pool of resources all at one place, where students, instructors, who are basically lecturers or professors, and staff who could be maintenance personnel or people who are helping, let's say, clean the classrooms, or administrative support. They get an idea of what exactly they need to do, what are the protocols, what are the measures that are in place from the university's perspective. Going to the next slide. So what the university has done in terms of planning a return to work is that they have created a phased opening plan, which comprises 3 phases. The first one, and the words are all mine, it's just to capture what these plans are about, was known as incremental return, where only the critical people to campus, such as campus safety officers, maintenance people, critical administrators, they were the only people who were allowed to come to campus. This transitioned a few days back into the increased functionality phase, where the university acknowledged that after all, it is an organization which has to deliver something to its stakeholders, like students or research partners. So in this phase, people whose work was being impacted severely because of the lockdown were able to come in very, very selective schedules. They were able to come on campus and do their work. And then we are moving towards what will be known as the new normal. And I think this is an important acknowledgement that the COVID-19 may not be a thing that happens only for 2 or 3 months. We may have to live with it for several months, or maybe a year or year and a half, depending on when we have access to the vaccine. But in the new normal, we return to campus, we return to work on campus rather, but we are encouraged to work from home as much as possible. So if we don't have meetings, if we don't have updates or something like that, we stay at home. The schedules are separated, which means that if I'm working 9 to 11, then someone else who has another meeting may have to set it up for later, and so on. The strategic goals which are driving this particular development plan are that the staffing should only gradually increase, no sudden returns to campus. Hygienic practices should be made normal. So right now we see that there is all of this hype that, you should be washing your hands or doing this or doing that. But these things should become natural to people who are visiting or being in face-to-face interactions with other people, and whatever needs to be done to establish that as normal should be done. There should be innovative work practices. So if you're using Zoom and if it is working well, then continue to do it. You don't need to cancel that approach and switch to online meetings. Or if you're using some shared Google Drive or something like that, then you continue to use it. And finally, there is active health monitoring. At the first sign of anyone having symptoms, immediately all of the testing and isolation measures kick into place. Next slide, please. And this return to work plan is very closely connected to return to class plan. So return to work applies to someone like me, who is an employee of the university. Return to class applies to someone who is coming to study on campus. And for the students, we as instructors have been were asked to take mandatory training. And in this, we were taught about the new teaching guidelines, what are the new policies that we are required to enforce. The second point is that the schedule of the classes was created so that the time between classes is increased to 25 minutes. And this lowers the chances of students crossing each other when they are going from one department or one class to another. And this, if you can imagine, is necessary because the University of Tennessee has 30,000 students. So if you have those many people on campus and all of them trying to go from one class to another, it's probably the ideal atmosphere for this type of an infection to spread. So that's why they have spaced the class timings accordingly. And the seating in classes has also been changed so that there is social distance maintained between individual areas where students are sitting. The most important point, and this is, I'm saying this as someone who completed majority of my education in India, which is that the classes are all on both online and in class. And most importantly, a lecturer or a professor cannot penalize a student for attendance as long as they're getting their work done. And the idea behind this is that there should be no artificial pressure created for students to be in class and therefore increase sort of the crowd on campus. Finally, supporting programs like financial offices, exam cells, etc., they have reduced the number of in-person appointments. So this is how the university deals with or has dealt with this particular situation. When we come to the school level, so public schools, just for your reference, are similar to government-aided schools in our country. And the Knox County is sort of, if you take a small town and you make a bigger envelope around it, so it's like the greater metropolitan area in our analogy. So Knox County Schools has taken some measures. Next slide, please. So the response time again was similarly quick, just like the university immediately responded, the county also immediately responded. What they did was, I think, very innovative because the Knox County consists of a large population of students who are from lower income groups. And therefore they rely on being in school for even things like their lunch, you know, so they don't, their parents they send them to school so that they get access to free meals. And the county set up distribution centers where students could come 2 days a week, and they were given meal packets for 2 days on Monday, and then for the remaining 3 days they had to come on Wednesday and pick up their meal packets. Instructors or teachers were given a clear instruction for grading. Once again, the idea is that you don't want to penalize students for not being on campus. You want them to not have that pressure in addition to the pressure of being isolated and being alone at home for several weeks. And one of the most important things, which I hope is given enough attention in our country, but sometimes it's not, is that the school system recognized that social and emotional resources are very, very important for students at this time. And they created a mental health and suicide prevention organization. I mean, they already had it, but they made it very active so that the students could receive this particular guidance if they felt that they were handling a lot of emotional pressure when they were away from their friends and peers at this point of time. Finally, if you go to the next slide, please. The school system created a web page, just like the university created a web page. They created a school level web page where on slide 18, you will be able to see just screenshots of the kind of links that were made available to the students. So for example, the students were given access to, let me just scroll up to that page over here. So the students were given access to website links. So for example, if there's a YouTube video which is explaining the concept of inertia, then they were given access to that so that they could rely on that in addition to whatever their teachers were teaching online. And all of this information was categorized by grade level, so 7th standard, 8th standard, and so on, by topic, mathematics, physics, geography, civics, and so on. And this was not linked to class performance. The emphasis was that students would go to these links themselves and learn on their own. Sir, if you could now go to slide number 20, please. 20. So the opportunities, as we move to sort of the summarization of where the opportunities are in this particular COVID-19 pandemic for educators. Next slide, please, sir. So the first opportunity is that of administrative flexibility, where people like us who are teaching or who are on this side of instruction, giving knowledge to the students, have to challenge ourselves on several fronts. One is we should question how should the class syllabus be flexible in the face of uncertainty. So if there is a sudden cancellation, a sudden restart, during the period of restart, can we design the syllabus so that the experimental work is done during that period and then the study related to it is done later, and so on and so forth. The second is how do you allocate resources? So if there is a limited budget for the college to spend on something during that particular year or semester, what should be prioritized? So for example, an online conference tool subscription may be prioritized over something which is related to class maintenance or things like that. How should the instructor adjust their grading system? So this is something that I had to face myself, which is that instead of regularly grading assignments, which is easy to do in class, we shifted to projects or reports. So we gave them, instead of 1 week, we gave them 1 month, but we asked them to do more in 1 month. And finally, how exactly do you redesign your assignments so that they work both for remote learning and in-class learning setups? Next slide, please. From the perspective of student learning and engagement, the challenges are, first is how do we create an environment that replicates, I think, the most important aspect of a student's experience on campus, which is their personal interaction with other students. And this is not just about, about getting together or just building friendships. That is also obviously important, but it also creates an environment of what is known as informal learning. And this is where whatever is taught in class, when the students go outside and they discuss it and they say, no, but I found this resource which was also more helpful to me or less helpful or things like that. All of this type of dialogue is known as informal learning. The students pick up from each other. And how do we replicate that when we don't have access to this personal interaction anymore? The second is how do we encourage students to become self-driven, self-paced learners? So for example, just encouraging them to look to other sources of information, teaching them that what they are taught within the confines of the textbook is not the only important thing. They have to look outside, they have to question, be inquisitive. All of these are opportunities that I think we can convey to our students in this time. And this leads to the last point in this particular topic, which is that we have, I think, very unfortunately because of this pandemic, but we have this opportunity to create a generation of curiosity-driven students. So we are stuck in this cycle, I think in many places around the world, where the most important thing is that you prepare for an exam and you learn questions by heart, and then you replicate it on the exam paper, and that's it. Like that's what the whole initiative is, or incentive is, to learn. But we have to incentivize the actual curiosity and say that how are you practicing this? Like, how are you using this either in daily life or to create something new? And that part is very, very critical. So finally, the last slide, please, is about the support system, which is very important, the role of guardians. And the guardians could be parents, siblings, anyone who the student looks to for support. The first question, which I previously referred to, is how can guardians emotionally support students in this long period of uncertainty and focus on mental well-being, which is often ignored at the cost of other things. The second is how can guardians partner with teachers in encouraging the students' motivation towards learning? So for example, just something as simple as saying that, I'll give you access to some non-syllabus books, or I've created this subscription that you can go to and read something which is outside your syllabus, would be enough to trigger some level of curiosity. And finally, this is something Dr. Thakur also talked about towards the end of her talk, which is that how can parents partner with teachers in supporting everyday learning? And I think this, again, is an opportunity to convey to students that learning what is in textbooks and the so-called real world learning are not two separate things. These two things are connected to each other. What they learn in a civics textbook is something that is actually practiced around them when they go to vote in an election. What they learn in a chemistry textbook is something that is actually used to make most of the things objects that they buy and use. And if we can make these connections, then it creates the support system where students are not looking for exams and assignments as their only source of information. So this brings me to the end of the presentation. I want to thank everyone once again for being very patient with my presentation, but it would be very interesting to know what questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. You rightly pointed out communication is the key factor for us in this pandemic situation, and it's my pleasure to tell you that we here in India got the live experiences from you for we Indians, and it is very interesting to know that how to go or how to return to work plan phase wise. So you have given us very interesting as well as informative ideas which are applicable to the teachers even in India also. Thank you very much. And now the session is open for discussion, and we have all the three resource persons with us. You may ask anyone whatever you want to ask. You may either raise hand or you may have chat box. You may put your questions, queries in chat box also. Welcome.
दादा सर, मला असं वाटतं की काही चॅट बॉक्स मध्ये काही कॉमेंट आलेले आहे. वी हॅव कॉमेंट्स इन आवर चॅट बॉक्स.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, one question. There are so many questions come in the chat box. First question is, what type of preparation should be done for the students belong to the rural area? So this question was asked by the Aviko Purade sir. So what type of preparation should be done for the students belonging to the rural area? Sir, please.
संध्या मॅडम काही कॉमेंट करता का? कमी करू. डॉक्टर संध्या ठाकूर.
Yes, she is with us.
Hello. Yeah. So, during my presentation, as well as Dr. Ninad also, they have emphasized that most of, actually my presentation was only for these students who are there in rural area, and Even it is not that only in rural area you have children who don't have access to internet or other things, but even in cities, uh, mainly the students going to the municipal corporation schools and other private schools, which are having lower income groups. So there they have problem of access to Wi-Fi, access to internet. And therefore, most of my work which is there is for these students, because majority of whatever efforts are done, they are for the other students which form the less group in the society. So these rural students, whatever projects I gave, teachers should go through such projects, and they also should find out more of which can be there for their own locality. Like in the rural area, there may be different projects. This is what I have given general in city or in small towns. In the rural area, if it is a village and all, the teachers should find out, and they should find out the projects which will match, and they can even add about the agriculture, planting the trees or studying different types of plants, animals. So such projects which are actually unique and where the students in the urban area, they don't have access at all. And therefore, they actually have more benefit from such situation than the students who are there in the urban region. I see even my granddaughter and children around who are taking online courses, and for hours if they sit in front of, in the beginning it was just interesting for them that they are using laptop and other things, tablet, but for a long time they also get bored and they cannot sit just alone and watching the screen and taking the classes, because in the classroom it is not only teacher in front of them, but they have their friends, they have interaction with the friends, and they have a pause in between, which is not there in online classes. And therefore, rural children, they have now better opportunity than their counterparts in the urban region. That is what I feel.
Can I add one thing?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Just now, Ninad pointed out that some sort of mental support also we have to give this rural student. And Sandhya ma'am, if you remember that in one of our webinar, Purna ma'am shared that now in many ashram schools, they are now providing, or they are now supplying the textbook. So I think when they hand over the textbook to each and every student in a rural area, that means they have some sort of mental interactions, face-to-face interaction, which also useful for the student, or you can say which motivate them, and it's a little bit mental support they are getting. And as you pointed out that the project method is very important in this scenario, but at the same time some sort of interaction or some sort of contact with this student is also important. And we are thinking now about after COVID. So after COVID, as Ninad shared the plan, whatever they are using in US. So similarly, in Indian context, or similarly the Maharashtra state, or not only Maharashtra, but I will suggest each and every school, or and each and every region, taluka, district level, they have a different they have to use a different, or they have to plan a different strategy, considering the context and situation of the local area. So what I will suggest to all our webinar participant, that they have to now plan. They have to start thinking what and in that planning, please ask parents. Please involve parents, not only our co-teachers, but also take the opinion of parents if possible. or other social media, also involve them in the planning, because if you make a planning in that way, each and every stakeholder, that planning will be the very successful planning, and and it will give you a lot of inputs from all these stakeholders. So that's my point. Nina, would you like to add something?
Yes, sir. I think one quick point to add would be that it may be surprising to some of you, but this is a fairly universal problem. It's not just rural areas in India, but even in the US, because of the size of the country, internet connectivity in some of the remote towns is really poor, or it's not even not existent in some cases. So in these places, what the school district has done, which is like the organizing body for the school, is that they have created study packets and worksheets, and they are delivered just like delivered by post, and it becomes like a, you know, they receive these materials, they work on them, and then they have to either send it back or they have to come to school and then drop it off. So that's one solution they have found. This may not be very directly connected to your question, but there are styles of education which are known as systems-based learning or experiential learning, in which students, the emphasis is on purely non-internet or non-computer based methods of learning, where students have to build something, they have to create their own little projects or experiments based on things they find at home. And perhaps if we come up with some sort of a set of things for them to do, set of activities, and then encourage them to use everyday materials to complete them, then it would satisfy a lot of learning goals. But it's an unsolved question, so it's not like I have an answer, or most educators have an answer, but everyone is trying to think on those lines.
Okay,
Thank you, sir. Next question, sir. Next question, sir, asked by Dhavole, sir. What will be the scenario post-COVID-19 of education sector? Because as tax collection in India and of major economy is deteriorating, and how country will deal situation, because this major economy, especially G8 nations, are in conflict situation in context of COVID-19. Sir, how you see this situation at a global level, and how education sector, especially in India, when economic infusion will decrease with deal with this?
Nina, comment.
Yeah, I can give a quick comment.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, you just.
No, I can give a quick comment, basically as a non-expert in this. So this is just based on the perception of how the education sector has more or less progressed. I think this is a kind of disruptive event, which was always forecast. Like, it was always said that eventually a lot of the learning will become self-learning, and programs will move online, and so on and so forth. We are just having to deal with it much earlier than expected. And because of this particular event or pandemic, unfortunately, this has triggered the rate at which we have to adopt these new methods of delivering information. So I think regardless of tax collections and these economic issues, which I really don't know much about, from an educational perspective, the opportunity here is that everything that was projected for 5 years later or 10 years later, we have the opportunity to do now. So if we had said, well, eventually we want some of our classes to move online, this is the opportunity to make sure that we have a smooth transition to that phase, and we have definitely a great level of access to technology which can enable it. The question is whether we have the resourcefulness as innovators or as researchers to be able to do it, and I think that's an open question once again.
Madam.
Yes, I am also not expert on economics and all, but then whenever such conditions have come earlier around the globe, what I have noticed is, and what everybody must have noticed is, like in the cricket, you must have seen a best bowler before giving a delivery goes back. So this is the time we are going back, and then after that we are going to give the best delivery. So this is just a pause, or we are just going little behind, or athlete goes little behind and then gives the delivery. So this is the time I hope for that.
I agree with you, as Ninad pointed out, that we have to now shift it towards online learning, and slowly we have to give the importance. We have to understand the importance of this online learning. But actually, our the question is related with some sort of economical crisis, and we all are aware that it's a global situation. So global economy, when global economy get affected directly or indirectly, our Indian economy also have some impact. And we all are observing there is a deduction, or sometimes the salary, what you can say, you are not getting uh, as on schedule, or sometimes it get postponed. So this crisis will continue, and we all have to cope with that crisis. But slowly, as you all are aware that our economic situation is not that bad. You have to understand our country's economic situation is in a good shape. It takes time to
I think sir is disconnected. So we will take the next question. How to inculcate skill through online teaching learning process? This question was asked by Dr. Maheshwar Kalve. How to inculcate skill through online teaching learning process?
I think that is one place where we are comparatively well advanced in sort of how information can be delivered through online processes. If we look at organizations like like Coursera, Udacity, Udemy, for the last maybe 8 to 10 years, they started more or less just taking actual videos of classroom lectures and posting it online and then asking quizzes at the end of it. But from that beginning, they have transitioned to a place where they have short lessons, like there are 10-minute lessons, and there are quizzes in between and at the end of every lesson, typically. This is followed by projects which can be done mostly online. And these projects are a good test of skill because they are not typical question answers. They are not like define this or solve this particular problem. They are open ended. They even if you try to find information online, you will eventually have to engage your own creativity. And I think these are basically the markers of skill development. Like if you are creative in trying to solve a problem, if you're applying what you know without trying to memorize a sequence of steps of doing it, then you are acquiring skills. And in addition to these sort of small classes, frequent quizzes kind of concept, another thing that these organizations have done quite well is that a lot of the assignments are graded automatically. Like there is an autonomous, like there's an algorithm which is actually grading assignments, which frees up the instructors themselves to look at only key parts of the course and evaluate how students are doing and have that one-on-one personal thing. So that allows not just 30 students sitting in one class, but maybe 3,000 students who are simultaneously taking the course to acquire skills and to showcase them and to be able to then apply them to maybe their jobs or wherever, whatever the purpose is for learning skills. So fortunately, we are in quite some distance ahead in terms of not just inculcating skills, but also measuring whether these skills have been inculcated through online learning.
I will just add one point that if you remember that many institutions carried out faculty development program, and in that faculty development program, more than 5,000 participants were participated, and they learn many new skills. Even last week, there was a course conducted by Bombay Teacher Education College on qualitative research, and afterwards they also conducted a course on quantitative research for 5 days. 5 days for qualitative and 5 days for quantitative. So I think only we have to change our mindset, and from each and every situation, we will learn many new things. And as Nina pointed out, that there are many platforms, many organizations, MIT, Commonwealth of Learning, and many institutions and organizations, even in our country, IGNO, UGC, and other colleges organizing that online webinar, faculty development programs with the help of all sort of technology. So certain skills we are learning, and for a student point of view, we can suggest some activities where, as Sandhya ma'am suggested, that project based learning. So in that case also, student
Thank you, sir. Again, sir is disconnected, and I have a question.
Hello.
Sir. Ha, sir.
Sir is with us.
माझा पॉइंट असा होता, माझा पॉइंट असा आहे की ह्या ज्या काही कौशल्य स्किलचा मुद्दा येतो ना, की ऑनलाईन मधनं आपल्याला सगळ्या स्किल्स शिकता येतात का? नाही, प्रत्येकाच्या मर्यादा आहे. ईच अँड एव्हरी टूल्स हॅव अ सर्टन लिमिटेशन्स, दॅट ऑल्सो वी हॅव टू अंडरस्टँड. फेस टू फेस have another dimension, and online have another dimension. So we have to understand the positive things as well as the limitations of that tools or that method. मुद्दा असा आहे की आपल्याला अनेक ह्या ज्या काही गोष्टी आहेत, घडत आहे सध्या, आणि आफ्टर कोविड पॅन्डेमिकच्या सिच्युएशन नंतर शाळा कॉलेजेसमध्ये कसं करायचं. आता ऑलरेडी अनेक ठिकाणी शाळा कॉलेजेस चालू झालेले आहेत. तिथे आता ऑनलाईनच्या दृष्टीने आपण प्रयत्न करतोय. आता काही ठिकाणी आपल्याला लॅब स्किल देता येतील का, पर्टिक्युलरली सायन्सचं म्हणा किंवा इंजिनिअरिंगचं म्हणा, तिथे आपल्याला काही गोष्टी देता येतील का. तर आता तिथे काही टेक्नॉलॉजी वेगळ्या पद्धतीने वापराव्या लागतील, त्याचाही आपल्याला विचार करावा लागेल. काही ठिकाणी जसं आपण वर्गामध्ये ॲबस्ट्रॅक्ट कन्सेप्टसाठी वी आर युझिंग सर्टन सिम्युलेशन, ॲनिमेशन, तसा सुद्धा काही उपयोग करता येईल. काही गोष्टी मुलांना सुद्धा आपल्याला सांगता येतील की तुम्ही घरी करून बघा बाबा, ह्या अशा पद्धतीने तुम्हाला करता येतात का. तर मला असं वाटतं की काही मर्यादा आहेत आपल्याला, त्याही समजून घेतल्या पाहिजे, आणि ही सिच्युएशन काही काळानंतर दूर होईल. आपण त्याचं फार काळजी करू नये. फक्त मुद्दा असा आला बोलण्यातनं की नाऊ वी आर गेटिंग ऑपॉर्च्युनिटी टू शिफ्ट, और यू कॅन से टू यूज ऑनलाईन लर्निंग और ब्लेंडेड लर्निंग. टेक्नॉलॉजीचा जो काही आता सध्या आपल्याकडे इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेव्हलप झालेलं आहे नॅकच्या माध्यमातून, त्याचा आपल्याला जास्तीत जास्त कसा उपयोग करून घेता येईल, ती पण एक चांगली संधी आहे असं मला वाटतं. आणि कौशल्य विकसित होण्यासाठी वेगवेगळ्या गोष्टीचा आपल्याला थोडासा विचार करावा लागत जाईल प्रत्येकाला. आणि थोड्या काळासाठी ही सिच्युएशन लॉंग टर्म नाही राहणार, कारण का हा ग्लोबल इम्पॅक्ट आहे पॅन्डेमिकचा जो आहे तो. आणि मला असं वाटतं की आपण साधारण 1-2 महिन्यामध्ये याच्यातून बाहेर येऊ. मी तरी खूप पॉझिटिव्ह आहे. सध्या जे काही मेडिकल सायन्समध्ये रिसर्च चाललेला आहे, संशोधन चाललेलं आहे, आणि व्हॅक्सिनच्या दृष्टीने किंवा काही ट्रीटमेंटच्या दृष्टीने जे काही प्रयत्न चाललेले आहेत, तर त्या दृष्टीने मला असं वाटतं की आपल्याला एक साधारण 2-3 महिने या संधीचा उपयोग करून घेऊया. थोडंसं ऑनलाईनकडे येऊया. वेबिनार, सेमिनार आणि वेगवेगळे YouTubeवरती आज खूप सगळ्या चांगल्या गोष्टी आहेत. त्याचाही काही उपयोग आपल्याला करता येईल. संध्या मॅम काही ॲड करायचं आहे?
नाही सर, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन घ्या.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to ask question to Honorable Pradhan, sir. This question is from my side. As you are at USA, sir, I have a question. Does Indian education system compete to the USA education system in this pandemic COVID-19 situation?
I think I can very honestly say that at this point I don't know. I think because it may be a question that we should not really be comparing these two education systems at this point. The problems that US is facing in terms of education are very different from the problems that India is facing. I think that the appropriate way for us to probably examine this is that are we in India or are the education systems in the US making a full and complete utilization of the resources that they have at hand? So if we are like wasting opportunities in India, then it doesn't matter if there is if those opportunities are also being wasted in the US, because ultimately there are that's the bottom line is that some opportunity is being lost. So exercises like the one Dr. Thakur was talking about how to engage students in maybe tribal areas may not apply to the environment in the US. The one thing I think would that is definitely impressive about the way some of the school systems in the US have handled it is that just like I showed the outline of how University of Tennessee or the local school district has taken care of it, they have been very systematic and they have made a plan. Whether the plan is good or bad is will only be revealed after we have completed this journey through this pandemic. But they have a plan, they have a very clear visibility of what they want to do, a clear vision of what they want to achieve. And I think if our colleges and schools are doing the same thing, then yeah, they are doing a great job. But if not, then we have to question what can be done to reach that point of careful planning and execution.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Now, is there anybody to ask question to the panel from the participant?
Hello.
One question is already there. How can we help students to cope up switching from classroom to online teaching? This question is already there in the chat box. So I think, this, first of all, now people started working their office work also at home. Definitely, house is not, you cannot replace physical house. Earlier, whenever people are working in the offices, usually when they come back, they keep all the office problems outside. They never allow that to mingle with the household. But now it is such that office only is brought into the house, and house has become office, it has become a classroom. And definitely house cannot replace classroom, but house can be better than classroom. It can be learning workshop. In the classroom, you just listen to the teacher. But at home, you can experiment. You are free to experiment with your parents. Certain things you cannot talk to the teacher because there is a discipline line over there, which is almost invisible when the students are learning at home. And therefore, home is a better place. Of course, number of schools They have started online teaching. So when the students get bored, they can just have free time and they can have the sessions which can be pre-recorded, or they can do the offline activities and then online videos. So various options are there for that, and therefore this is how they can cope up with the online teaching. That is what I feel.
Thank you, madam. I think all questions we have covered from the chat box.
One
And,
question, sir. Please.
Okay, Gaikwad sir, bola.
What is the opportunity in research after the COVID-19 in education? Actually, in education, what is the research opportunity and challenges after COVID-19? Deshmukh sir.
तुमचा प्रश्न खूप चांगला प्रश्न आहे. Your question is very nice questions. Now, at this moment, by you networking with international researcher, you can get connected. You can collaborate with them because now we have a time, so we can use that opportunity. Similarly, what I will suggest that nowadays it's because of this COVID impact. We are not sure whether you can go abroad for doing research. Lot of advertisement are now coming from various universities as a research scholar, as a postdoc, or as a faculty. Lot of advertisements are coming, but I don't know how it will be advisable to join that things, join that institution. But what I will suggest, if you are at the Hivadi College, or if you are at any right education institute, uh, we can do our research. We can interact with international researchers through this online mode or through webinar. We can use that time for our own development or for own research work. But it's a little bit what you can say, funding issue will also come slowly.
Yes, Dr. Ninath, can you continue? Can you?
Yeah, I can. I guess I can add to it in a couple of ways. One is if Dr. Gaikwad, if you were talking about specific research opportunities, I think research is basically if you have asked a question and if that question is not satisfactorily answered or completely backed by data, then it's a research question. And I think a lot of the questions that were raised today, by that definition, are research questions, because no one really knows the answer to this, and everyone understands that where you go in the world and what kind of questions or what kind of educational challenges you have are different. So if we are able to ask questions about, let's say in your college, there is a certain thing that you have tried to cope with this pandemic. And if we collect data from students or from other faculty members and analyze that data and establish that, yes, this was an effective way of teaching, then it can transfer to other places and then it becomes research. So that's one aspect to it. I think the other aspect is that fortunately in, being in the university where I am, our universities typically have a large breadth of access to online resources and materials and, like statistical packages and things like that. So if there is an interesting question where me or anyone like me, for example, can be a partner, then like Deshmukh sir said, there are no national or regional boundaries to be able to try that out. And I'll be happy to talk about these opportunities if there are specific things that we want to do. So collaboration is easy, but the collaboration has to be founded on like a partnership where both sides are interested and want to spend time in collecting data and coming up with analysis and then eventually publishing it. So if we are willing to go through all the 3 steps, then you will find many partners and collaborators to do research on this particular topic or any related topic.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody from the participant who asks question to the panel?
बहुतेक संपलेत.
Yes. I think all participants are set.
Questions and queries. Okay. बोला सर.
मला असं वाटतं की खूप चांगलं डिस्कशन झालंय. आवाज येतो का माझा?
Yes, sir.
खूप चांगले प्रश्न आलेत. आपल्याला जी अपेक्षा होती आणि इतक्या शॉर्ट नोटीस मध्ये डॉक्टर निनाद तयार झालेत. खरंच चांगलं वाटलं एकंदरीत. आणि दुसरी गोष्ट अशी होती की संध्या मॅडमनी पण याच्यामध्ये खूप छान भर घातली. हा सगळा प्रयत्न आपण जो काही करत आहोत, एक मिनिट. हा आपला प्रयत्न खरंच चांगला एक प्रयत्न आहे. याच्यामध्ये टेक्नॉलॉजीची खूप मोठी अडचण येत आहे. टेक्नॉलॉजीची अडचण म्हणजे आता इव्हन आता मुंबई सारख्या शहरामध्ये सुद्धा नेटवर्क मिळणं कठीण जातंय. मी आता सध्या 2 नेटवर्क वापरतोय. एक एअरटेलचं वापरतोय आणि एक दुसरं MTNLचं वापरत आहे. तरी सुद्धा अडचण आहे. मध्ये चॅटमध्ये कोणीतरी विचारलं होतं की याच्या संदर्भात गव्हर्नमेंटने काय करायला पाहिजे. आता काय झालं की आता आपण प्रॉब्लेम असा झाला की सगळेच जण ऑनलाईन किंवा याच्यावरती मोबाईलवरती आणि सगळ्यांनाच नेट आवश्यक असल्यामुळे थोडंसं नेटवर्कचाही सुद्धा इश्यू येतो. पण याही परिस्थितीमध्ये आपण सगळेजण छानपैकी पार्टिसिपेट झाला याच्यामध्ये आणि चांगलं डिस्कशन घडवून आणलं. आणि मी माझे मित्र रयत शिक्षण संस्थेचे जाधव सर यांचा मनापासून आभारी आहे. गेली 10 वर्ष रयत शिक्षण संस्थेसोबत कार्य करत असल्यामुळे चांगला आपल्या सोबतचा माझं स्नेह जोडला गेलेला आहे. आणि कर्मवीर भाऊराव पाटलांनी जी काही ज्योत आपल्याला दिलेली आहे ती ज्योत अखंड प्रज्वलित ठेवणे हे आपलं सगळ्यांचं कार्य आहे. ज्ञानाच्या याच्यामध्ये सगळेच जण आपण आपापल्या परीने खूप छान प्रयत्न करत आहात. डॉक्टर, त्याच्यानंतर नर्सेस, त्याच्यानंतर वेगवेगळे जे काही मेडिकल क्षेत्रातले लोक आहात, त्याच्यानंतर आपण शिक्षण क्षेत्रातले व्यक्ती सगळं खूप चांगलं कार्य करत आहात. त्याबद्दल मी आपणा सर्वांचे मनापासून अभिनंदन करतोय. ही आपण संधी दिली त्याबद्दल सगळ्यांचे मनापासून आभार. थँक्यू.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Honorable Principal of the. Thank you, sir. Honorable Principal Dr. B.T. Jadhav, sir. I would like to request, please remark overall this because so many researcher and participant asked the question, and I would like to ask, please remark overall this international webinar, please.
Okay, sir. Thank you. देशमुख सर ज्या भाषेत बोलले तसं मला बोलायला आवडेल. खरं तर खूप चांगली संधी देशमुख सरांच्या माध्यमातून या वेबिनारच्या निमित्तानं आपल्याला मिळाली. आणि अगदी शॉर्ट नोटीस मध्ये डॉक्टर निनाद सर हॅव जॉईन्ड विथ अस अँड संध्या मॅडम हॅव ऑल्सो शेअर हिज व्ह्यूज रिगार्डिंग दिस COVID-19 एज्युकेशन आफ्टर COVID-19 अपॉर्च्युनिटीज अँड चॅलेंजेस. तर या तिघांच्या बोलण्यातून खूप साऱ्या अपॉर्च्युनिटीज त्यांनी आपल्याला सांगितल्या. आणि आपण खूप साऱ्या बऱ्याच वेळेला काय करतो, आपण अपॉर्च्युनिटी न शोधता अडचणी मांडत असतो. आता पण काही ते व्यक्तीवर असतं किती आपण अडचणी मांडतो त्या, आणि अडचणीवरती सोल्युशन काढणं खरं तर ते आपलं शिक्षकाचंच काम असते. आणि आपण मग शिक्षक म्हणून आपला रुरल असेल एरिया, आपल्या इंटरनेटची कनेक्टिव्हिटी असेल, कोणा काही आपल्या टेक्नॉलॉजी मधल्या काही प्रॉब्लेम्स असतील तर ते वारंवार आपण मांडत असतो. तर अपेक्षा अशी असते समाजाची बऱ्याच गोष्टी शिक्षकांच्या माध्यमातून संशोधकांच्या माध्यमातून जनरेट व्हाव्यात अशी अपेक्षा असते. आणि म्हणून आपली एक रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी असते, बिंग एज अ टीचर, बिंग एज अ रिसर्चर, बिंग एज अ स्टुडंट, की नव्या नव्या गोष्टी आपण लोकांना सांगितल्या पाहिजेत, नव्या गोष्टी लोकांना शिकण्यासाठी प्रेरित केलं पाहिजे, त्यांना मोटिवेट केलं पाहिजे. आणि ही संधी कोविड-19च्या या लॉकडाऊनमुळे आपल्या सगळ्यांना मिळते की आपणच सोल्युशन जनरेट केली पाहिजेत, आपण सोल्युशन सजेस्ट केली पाहिजेत. आणि मग ही सोल्युशन विद्यार्थ्यांच्या गळी उतरवायची, पालकांच्या गळी उतरवायची आणि याच्यातून एक वेगळं कन्क्लुजन काढून ते सोसायटी पर्यंत पोहोचवणं ही सुद्धा आपल्या बिंग एज अ टीचर आपली जबाबदारी असते ती. त्यामुळे मी सगळ्या पार्टिसिपंटना एवढं सांगेन की आज आपल्याला 3 रिसोर्स पर्सन आहेत, हे खूप मोठ्या सेक्टरमध्ये काम करतायत. डॉक्टर नरेंद्र देशमुख हे 2010 पासून रयत शिक्षण संस्थेशी जोडले गेलेले आहेत, जे विज्ञान परिषदेच्या माध्यमातून, होमी भाभा सेंटर फॉर सायन्स एज्युकेशनच्या माध्यमातून ते आपल्याला खूप सारी मदत करतात. आणि मग ही सगळी मंडळी जी आहेत, होमी भाभा सायन्स सेंटर असेल, TIFR असेल, BRC असेल, या तिन्ही संस्थांच्या माध्यमातून ही मंडळी ग्रामीण भागातल्या शिक्षकांना, विशेषतः विद्यार्थ्यांना खूप मदत आणि मार्गदर्शन करतात. आणि मग यांची मदत या कोविड-19च्या पार्श्वभूमीवर आपल्याला कशी घेता येईल हा विचार करतानाच देशमुख साहेबांनी हे 2 रिसोर्स पर्सन आपल्याला सांगितले. आणि खूप छान डॉक्टर निनाद सर आणि संध्या मॅडमने आपल्याला खूप जी चांगली माहिती दिली ती आपल्याला सारी खरं तर प्रेरणादायी आहे. मागे सुद्धा आपण सिन्हा सरांच्या माध्यमातून USC मधूनच आपण दैवडी कॉलेजशी जोडलो गेलेलो होतो. आजही तशीच पुन्हा एक संधी आपल्याला मिळालेली आहे. आणि या 3 रिसोर्स पर्सननी जे काय आपल्याला मार्गदर्शन केलं, जी संधी आपल्याला दिली ऐकण्याची, त्यासाठी मी महाविद्यालयाच्या वतीनं, सर्व पार्टिसिपंटच्या वतीनं आणि आमच्या ऐकवेशी कोऑर्डिनेटर त्यांची टीम यांच्या वतीने त्यांचे व्यक्तिशः आणि संस्थेच्या वतीने मी आभार मानतो. त्याचबरोबर ऐकवेशी कोऑर्डिनेटर आणि त्यांच्या टीमने हे खूप छान नियोजन केलं. कमी वेळेमध्ये सगळं नियोजन करणं, त्यांचा बायोडाटा कलेक्ट करणं, PPT कलेक्ट करणं, त्यासाठी यंत्रणा आपण कामाला लावणं आणि जवळजवळ 100 पार्टिसिपंट त्याला जॉईन झालेले होते. बरेच पार्टिसिपंट हे फेसबुकवरून जॉईन झालेले होते. त्याबद्दल सगळ्या आमच्या टीमचं मी अभिनंदन करतो. आणि पुन्हा नेक्स्ट वीक मध्ये आपण जी 2 सेमिनार पुन्हा आयोजित करतो आहोत, 2 वेबिनार आपण आयोजित करतो आहोत, त्यासाठी पुन्हा आपण सगळ्यांनी एकत्र त्यावर जॉईन व्हावं. आणि अशा वेगवेगळ्या पार्श्वभूमीवरती आपण कोविड-19चा ही प्रॉब्लेमॅटिक सिस्टीम आहे असं न मानता त्याच्यामधून ऑपॉर्च्युनिटी शोधाव्यात, त्याचे चॅलेंजेस ऍक्सेप्ट करावेत आणि आपल्याला जे काही अडचणी आहेत त्या अडचणीवरती आपण सगळेजण मिळून मात करूया अशी अपेक्षा मी व्यक्त करतो. आणि डॉक्टर खेत्रे सर नेक्स्ट.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your nice remark. Thank you, sir. Now over to Dr. A.N. Dadas, sir, IQAC coordinator, David College.
Yes, sir. मला निश्चितपणे धन्यवाद जाधव सर. मला निश्चितपणे सांगायला आनंद होतो की कोविड-19 ही म्हणजे अडचण न समजता आम्ही वेगवेगळ्या माध्यमातून लोकांच्या पर्यंत पोहोचतोय. पण माननीय प्राचार्य यांच्या मार्गदर्शनाखाली आम्ही 1 जुलैपासून विद्यार्थ्यांसाठी झूम ऍपद्वारे त्यांना काउन्सिलिंग करायला सुरुवात केलेली आहे. आणि याचा एक मला विशेष आनंद होतो की अनेक विद्यार्थी आमच्याशी त्याच्याबरोबर जॉईन होत आहेत आणि आमचे सर्व शिक्षक या विद्यार्थ्यांना अतिशय मोलाचं मार्गदर्शन करतायत. म्हणजे हे आम्ही आमच्या माननीय प्राचार्यांच्या मार्गदर्शनाखाली पॉझिटिव्ह घेऊन विद्यार्थ्यांशी संपर्कात राहणं ही जबाबदारी आम्ही पार पाडत आहोत. आणि त्या काही दिवसात आम्ही लाईव्ह लेक्चर सुद्धा सुरू करणार आहोत. पुन्हा एकदा मी IQACच्या वतीनं सर्वांना धन्यवाद देतो आणि आमच्या IQACचे को-कॉर्डिनेटर प्राध्यापक MB सिकलकर सर यांना विनंती करतो की आपण पुन्हा एकदा या सर्वांचे आभार मानावेत. सिकलकर सर प्लीज.
हॅलो, एम आय ऑडिबल?
येस सर, बोला.
रयत शिक्षण संस्था दैवडी कॉलेज दैवडी इंटरनल क्वालिटी assurance cell IQAC organized national webinar on education after COVID-19 opportunities and challenges. It is a great honor and privilege to propose vote of thanks on this memorable occasion. Firstly, I express my gratitude to Dr. Narendra Deshmukh, Senior Scientist, Homi Bhabha Centers for Science Education, Mumbai, who delivered a keynote address to this international webinar. Also, I apologize for technical issue of sharing PPT. Today's resource person, Dr. Sandhya Thakur, retired lecturer, Somaiya College, Mumbai, and ex-visiting faculty, HBCSE. I express my sincere thanks to her for valuable guidance. I express my sincere thanks to today's second resource person, Dr. Ninath Pradhan, postdoctoral research, fusion-based process analytics, University of Tennessee, USA. Thank you very much, sir. I am very grateful of our college principal, Dr. B.T. Jadhav, who inspire and guide us to organize such kind webinar. I propose vote of thanks organizing committee of our college, Dr. A.N. Dadas, coordinator IQAC, Dr. V.P. Gaikwad, coordinator of this webinar, Dr. S.M. Khetre, convener of this webinar. Thank you all. Last but not least, I propose sincerely vote of thanks to all participants on Zoom and YouTube live, and prior permission of principal, herewith I declare webinar is over. Thank you very much to all.
Okay,
And
webinar
last
is
one, I request to all participants, please fill feedback form we share on chat box.
खित्रे सर पुन्हा एकदा feedback link share करा. There are messages from participants to share link once again, please. Okay. Sikalkar sir, you may leave the meeting. Thank you.
चिखलकर सर थांबा जरा, त्या ठिकाणी फीडबॅक लिंक शेअर झालेली दिसत नाही. फीडबॅक लिंक जरा शेअर करा की.
झालेली आहे, पुन्हा एकदा शेअर करा.
हा तिथे माझं बोलताना लक्षात नसेल. ओके,
हा,
अजून एकदा 1-2-3 वेळा शेअर करा सर प्लीज. 1-2 मिनिट.
हो, येस सर, येस सर.
येस.
चॅट बॉक्स कशा
चॅट बॉक्स मध्ये एक लिंक येईल, फीडबॅक लिंक येईल. सर्वांनी आपले सर्टिफिकेट साठी लिंक वरती जाऊन तुम्ही फीडबॅक फॉर्म भरायचे. यू विल ऑटोमॅटिकली गेट द सर्टिफिकेट. नाउ लिंक इज ओपन. पुन्हा एकदा लिंक पाठवलेली, सर्वांनी ज्यांना भेटलेली नाही त्यांनी लिंक ओपन करायची आणि फीडबॅक फॉर्म भरायचा आहे.
मी लॉग ऑफ करतो. थँक यू एव्हरीवन.
लिंक ओपन होत नाही. हॅलो,
फीडबॅक लिंक पुन्हा शेअर केलेली आहे. त्या लिंकवर आज पहिले 100 पार्टिसिपंट फक्त सर्टिफिकेट घेऊ शकतात. ज्या पार्टिसिपेंटना सर्टिफिकेट मिळू शकत नाही आज, त्यांनी उद्या पुन्हा फीडबॅक फॉर्म भरावा. सर्टिफिकेट त्यांना ईमेल वर मिळेल. खेत्रे सर,
हा
एंड करू का मीटिंग?
येस सर.
येस सर, कॉंग्रॅच्युलेशन सर, छान झालं.
थँक्यू सो मच.